Welcome back. In this video we're going to cover the most popular sidelines of the Kan Sicilian and the second most popular variation with move 5 knight c3. So let's get to our Kan structure. Now we see knight c3, and after queen c7 we have a lot of different dips in the road, and you'll typically see bishop d3 played in the main line, and most of the time this position that we have here is going to be faced. First, let's look at some of the sidelines. So with g3, typically when the knight comes out early to c3, one of the main reasons that we put the queen on c7 is eyeing the potential c3 knight. So we play bishop b4. Very, very rarely do you want to give up this bishop unless you have excellent compensation. This is your good bishop. It agrees with the structure. Keep this in mind, that if you give up this bishop, even if it's for a pawn, you could face a serious attack on the dark squares and potentially have a useless bishop. So white's going to play one of two moves here. Bishop d2 or knight d to e2. Let's first look with the second move. So after bishop e7, knight f6, and we just develop a hedgehog-like structure. Notice how black is not allowing the straightforward expansion here. d6, and after knight g3, always control e5 in the Kan. Queen e2, g5, extremely important. This way we don't have any worries about controlling the e5 square. We can always maneuver to keep it, and our king can stay safely in the center here as it's very well protected. So going back to the second move, bishop d2, we'll see the same type of idea orientation in this structure. Brings the bishop back to e7, preventing any e5. d6, very important. b6, making sure he can't play a5 and clamp down on our structure, creating an isolated pawn. We have a hedgehog-esque structure, which we see very commonly in the Kan. He begins his attack over here, and we see this move h6 again. Knight d7, g5. It's all about controlling that e5 square. After f5, he gets the e5 square, and again we have a solid position. That covers g3. Now, one of the main Sicilian attacking systems that you will see is the English attack, which typically has move 6, bishop e3, and in almost all of the Sicilians you'll see it with the most popular by far with the Najdorf and Scheveningen structures, and even the dragon. White can put the bishop on e3, queen on d2, castle queenside, and just throw the kingside pawns at black. But in the Kan Sicilian, we have play directed against this move with bishop b4 immediately, and after queen d2 we're already threatening to take this pawn due to the devastating pin. After f3, continue to attack, press the situation, bishop d3, e5, and I guarantee you'll have some opponents run into this type of play. I actually had it happen in a game back in 2004. So, I mean, this is speaking from experience. This will happen in your games. Make sure to carefully pay attention to this line. And after knight c6, I really don't feel like there's much reason to play on in this position. Black just has a solid edge and should win the game easily. So, going back to this position again. Let's try another move with f4. Nothing to see here. No e5. Control that square. Can't emphasize it enough. Bishop d3. Now we're worried about f5. So what do we do when we're worried about f5? We play g6. And then we're gradually getting to the structure again. When we can't play b5, we want to play b5. When we can't play b5, we play b6. Last move a3. b5, of course. After bishop d3. It's trying to play e5, so we stop it. After f4, it's trying to play e5. Stop it. After king h1, g6. Now we again have a very solid structure. So let's look at this main line. And this was a game in 2011 with Caruana as black. After bishop d3, we got knight f6. Castles. Pairing f4. This time he went with bishop e7. But again, g6 is completely fine here. After bishop e7, queen e2, knight c5. And this was the idea from this game, that if any sort of kingside attack happens with g4, g5, the knight can go to d7, and this knight is planning on taking the bishop, yielding the bishop here. Castles, a1 takes. And notice how he waited until he committed the rook to e1 before taking the bishop, because say for instance instead of castles, if he would have taken the bishop immediately, now that rook wants to go to c1 in order to gain time. So after castles, rook a1, now he takes, plays b5, gets space. Black just has the bishop pair and a solid edge. We'll continue looking through the rest of this game, just seeing how Fabiano puts his opponent away. Queen h3, a5, using that queenside expansion, getting minority attack. d7, b4. And it's clear black's bishops are eating the position up. Making sure to watch white's counterplay. f6, very important. Stop playing mate in 1, as well as just clearly protecting against the knight moves. Always deal with the big threats first, and then gradually improve the position. Now he's got the pure bishop pair against the knight and bishop. It's going to gradually open up the position more for his bishops, making them even stronger. Tactics begin, and they end very, very quickly here with white's resignation. Now, hopefully, the main takeaways that we're getting from these Kan videos: control the e5 square. Make sure you're not losing tempi. And notice, in any of the lines that we've looked at so far, the dark square bishop is not taking the knight on c3. In fact, it'll use a tempo to come back to e7. These are major, major takeaways in the Kan.